Welcome to the Theater of the Unconscious. Every Sunday night in Purgatory starting 10 o'clock or sometime thereafter. In this case, it's sometime thereafter because we're doing something special tonight. We're filming, and this film that we're making here will be used in a documentary, I think. Is that correct? On Channel 12.
Charnay said, if you have something to say, it is your duty, your responsibility to the world to speak out.
The second caveat, and we usually have no warnings at all, because you're free to do whatever you want in here. Please take advantage of that. I'd appreciate it.
Poetry is speaking right from the soul.
Good poetry makes an echo in the brain.
Poetry is like the one in a million shot. I mean, you'd be better off to try and be the lead singer of a rock and roll band, be the next Mick Jagger, the next Axl Rose, or the next Perry Farrell.
I think the biggest thing is feeling and relating to people.
In my opinion, what makes it good or bad to me is that it gets a point across, it expresses an idea or an opinion, it can touch the heart or shows emotion with it.
There's something to be said about a guy not having a boner for you. Well, that's okay with me. Either he wasn't interested or he wasn't interested. Something like that, I don't know.
Yeah, I performed at the Lollapalooza Festival out in at the Lakewood Amphitheater, and I've received a lot of people's comments because of it, and it was very exciting to have 20,000 people turn their heads every time I cranked up my chainsaw, and it's like I've cranked up a lot of chainsaws a lot of times, and not very many people really, gave a shit, but,
To me, what makes poetry good is if it sticks in your mind. I think that's the purpose of all poetry. That's the purpose of all the poetic devices, meter, rhyme, and in free verse also, just the choice of images and so on and so forth. The idea is to create something that will begin repeating itself in the reader's mind over and over again, if only a refrain.
Okay, this one's a request. I've become token by this one, but I'll do it anyway.
Well, it's basically about this thing where this guy saw this girl delivering a pizza and he thought he could fuck with me just because I was a girl and he couldn't. And we got into a really big fight in the apartment complex. The whole apartment complex, people were opening their windows and looking out, like, what the hell's going on here? And they saw this pizza on the ground and me sitting here screaming at this guy, and I delivered the pizza.
Intimidation blue, a badge that no longer shines for me because I refuse to see. I just want him to let me be. What's a dick thing, little gal, and you must understand. The military morality, he's a marine lobotomy, the fascist epitome, it's a dick thing, ma'am, and you must understand. Power dress, power talk, capitalistic consciousness doing the talking. It's a dick thing, honey, and you must understand. Powerlessness, exasperation, penis envy in my left hand, it's a dick thing, baby, and I have to understand. Pastel conformity club, lack of choices, indignation in my right hand, it's a dick thing, baby, and I'm forced to understand.
But it's basically, it just pissed me off. It was another one of those nights where I just couldn't sleep because I was really pissed off, and I had to say something about this general attitude that some men carry. I'm not going to say all men.
Most.
Yeah.
This first poem has been published on an audio tape called Hum, a collective of Atlanta poets. It's called Do Not Ask Me. When my vision is directed elsewhere, when my eyes pierce the gloom around us with that luminous sheen commonly named the paranoid glare by mechanics of broken brains, do not be startled when I tell you I am voyaging. Do not ask where my thoughts fly. If I reply at all, the answer may not comfort. I am out toward the edge of this observable universe. Indeed, the cosmos entrained from which I pick strands a vast web tangled as any fiber network in a nervous system. I am not sure my 1,000-yard stare can scarce contain dawning knowledge, all this weaving perhaps God's mind. Every atom, each fragment of existence, some thought there. It is a gnawing hunger to look out from that cosmic skull to see what? And I continue to press further out, my mere human heart chilled, constricted by very real fear I shall run out of things to view, but my thirst keen still. All this clamoring in me for words to harness a vision with magic. I cannot convey it to you in a prosaic nutshell. I cannot couch the experience in some easy, coherent formula upon a slide rule. The shifting layers themselves argue against simplicity. Even if I could impose order on the chaos, who would listen? Who among you would hear? You who worries about some job? You enmeshed in the daily trivia of this culture which is a prison? Do not ask from where I hail, home port forgotten. Do not ask what I behold or where I'm bound. A Magellan whose sails are filled with faith, coursing a starlit dark on Newman's currents, reluctant to return.
I've sort of been involved in the Atlanta poetry scene a couple of times. Back in the late 70s, I did a bit of reading at the then Little Five Points pub with some friends and all. And then I got out of it for a while. I just didn't feel that it was quite right to be performing what I was doing. And then about two and a half years ago, maybe a little more, I started reading at the Mud Shack and looking elsewhere for places to read. I and three other people started the Community Poets Collective to do reading in the Little Five Points area, and there for a while we were reading like every weekend in the Little Five Points Square. And I've been reading at the Masquerade Coffeehouse almost since it began, and just wherever I can read. I feel very strongly that poetry is a performing art like dance or singing or anything like that, and that if you don't perform it, you not only cheat your reader or your listener, that in some aspects you cheat yourself.
First time I ever read in public was at an event at the Little Five Points Community Center. After that, years before, me and some of my pals used to put on these beatnik parties where we have music and poetry and everything. And then after we started doing it, after a while, things just started mushrooming. Spoken word got to be real popular, and all these things started happening. They started having poetry night at the old late lamented Color Box. And then the Masquerade picked up doing it with the great old Kitty Beat there. Then she left, asked me to host the thing, which I'm too fucked up to do on a regular basis, so I did it a few times and turned it over to old Abe and Jeff, and they've been keeping things fine ever since. Forget about the villa at St. Mark's in Soho. Down south in Atlanta is the coolest place to go. So drink a few beers and smoke a few joints, and stroll on down to Little Five Points. It's the craziest kind of melting pot. All kinds of people is what they got. That's right. 60s freaks and 80s geeks, fashion fags and bums in rags, biker bitches and new age witches, Rasta men and lesbians, skateboard kids, hippies on acid. There's metalheads with hair down to there, and skinheads with their head shaved bare, but you're not really with it, some folks think, if your hair's not green or blue or pink. So go have a slice in front of Fellini's. Watch all the punkers and posers and weenies. Or dine on misos and tofus and pestos, then wash it down with a shake from Zestos. Hang out in the back parking lot, or loiter on the square. Take off your shoes and hang them from the power lines there. Go over to a store called Crystal Blue and buy a healing crystal, then walk right across the street, buy a machine gun or a pistol. The first poem I ever wrote, I believe, was my ode to Little Five Points. Because I'd long thought this was like one of the coolest neighborhoods in the entire known universe, and thought it should be immortalized by somebody. And I thought, well, it might as well be me. Have a few drinks at the store, a few brews at the pub, get more booze at the liquor store, then throw up in the old yacht club. Party until you can't continue, find out your car's been broken into. Yes, come on down to Little Five, some of the people look dead, but the music's live. Yes, come on down to Little Five, it's where the funkiest people thrive.
All my stuff is said to be kind of Zen stuff. Magic. I believe that we all have our own unique magic. Why envy the magic of others when we have our own? This one I wrote for a friend of mine, Hal. I call it for Hal. Friendship can criticize without abusing. Friendship knows when to embrace and when we need our space. Friendship is always there for us until we take it for granted.
Blessings bought, I will, too much too soon. With silver nail and mahogany cross I crucify. A light brighter than a cold night wind. On a hill I fought, with a whip I taught. With a heart I'm putty, with a buck I'm over it again. Bored, toothless, amphetamine grins sent shivers of comfort leaking out of my dank and molten heart. Grows the air I keep breathing, squawking insecurity with confidence. Sometimes an idol seems so appealing. Unproduced it excites, so fuck it! I only want to know what you think now.
First reading, or I guess open mic night I was ever at was Mud Shack, and that was right before they closed it down for almost a year. And Deacon Lunchbox was there. I'd never seen him perform before, and Opal Fox was there, and I was just turned on to it right away. Got really excited about it. I didn't read for probably another 8 months myself, and that was at Masquerade.
And there's just really not enough places in Atlanta to hear poetry, which I think, can be changed, but it'll take a little bit of effort and a little bit of work on the part of the poets themselves.
There's got to be more. Should be more coffee houses and open mic nights and just all kinds of things.
Well, I remember Shernay was working her ass off getting us gigs everywhere she could find. Really? And Masquerade was perhaps the last of those. I walked in there. I hated the fucking place. I hated the fucking security. Colby in particular, man. I didn't even know who the hell he was, but I got in a fight with that motherfucker every single time I walked in there. It's always ID, what are you drinking? And at that time it was always beer. Because I hadn't graduated yet.
But I think there's poetry in all of us. I think poetry comes from the heart and soul. I don't think there has to be a rhyme or meter. I don't think you need to get a PhD in English literature to write it. I think it's a feel. I think there's a poet in all of us. You look around, you smell, you see, you think, you experience anger, you experience happiness.
It's called Angry Poem. It's dedicated to the chick I just wrote that for. Another broken kiss, never to be finished. Another round of being bludgeoned to death by some beautiful brown-eyed whore in this eternal lap dance we call life. She told me she didn't want a physical relationship. She gave damn good head for not wanting a physical relationship, but she spat my unborn child into a Gatorade bottle.
Recently, I think there's a lot of you poets are doing the open mic things. I know when I was the MC at Blue Iguana and Buckhead, a lot of y'all came out and read and all, and I think the local clubs just use poets for free entertainment on their open mic nights, and they ought to, start paying poets, or the poets ought to boycott. Like Bruce Springsteen said, what did he say years ago? The poets don't write nothing at all. They just stand back and let it all be. well, I think you ought to quit getting ripped off on these open mic nights. That's why you don't see me there.
Good evening to you all. I'm the one called Wyrdsli, the priest of the poets, the outcast of the devil worshippers, the heretic of heretics, the prophet and scribe of the great and powerful Wizard of Oz. Are you listening to me?
Yes, yes, yes.
Ah, beautiful. Yes, I am the prophet and scribe of the great and powerful Wizard of Oz. As such, it is my divine mission to bring his teachings to the humans of this planet. Tonight I have come to speak to you about the legend of the Holy Grail. All right, listen to me.
Amen, brother.
All 12 of you? Yes, very good. For centuries now has the legend of the Holy Grail been a lingering obsession to mankind. I, in the name of the lizard, are you listening to me?
Yes.
Worship me, yes, worship me. For centuries now has the legend of the Holy Grail been a lingering obsession from mankind. In the name of the lizard, I shall now dispel this myth and reveal the secrets that may anger many in this process thereof. That so many should be so obsessed is stupid. Stupid beyond stupid. There is no other word for it. Even had the Major Galilee had any particular goblet at the last meal, what could be done with it? Could you retrieve it? You know, I suspect they all drank from the same bottle, if you want to ask me. They were poor, you remember? Consider for 1/1,000,000th of a second that quest for the Holy Grail meant that it was lost in the first place and not sought after until it was much too late. Does this not smack of symbolism? Do you not detect some sort of allegory here? I thought you did. Should there have been any particular canter at this last meal, it should have been kept in a shrine and watched over by the high priest and guarded forever. Obviously this was not the case, so what is going on here? I shall tell you now. The cup has for long in magical lore been a symbol of love because it is receptible. It holds the waters of life, thus birth, thus love. Can you dig it? The cup is the symbol of love. Substitute therefore in this legend love in the place of the Grail. We now find a precious and beautiful love stupidly lost by incompetence and not looked for until it's too late. This is the great folly of man. The Grail itself is not the point, it's the failure in losing it. Therefore, concern yourself not with legends, not with fables, not with myths of holy grails that may be this or that place or something else. Forget them. Concern yourself instead with the precious and beautiful love you have in front of you that seems as common as the coffee mug, but holds warmth that a cold and broken Grail does not have. Are you listening to me?
Yeah.
That is all I have to say tonight. Have you learned something? Do you feel enlightened? Will you come and see us when I have a screening somewhere, huh? All right. Thank you all very much.
Hi y'all, how y'all doing? It's time. It's that time. It's been requested and I've been asked many times to be able to do this, so it's time once again for that game show of game shows, Bob Starker's Truth or Bob Starker's Truth or the game show that allows you, the contestant, to participate in some of the most incredible knowledge that hasn't been talked about, spoken about, or been censored and uncensored for that matter. And it is brought to you by the Illuminati. We make the world a better and safer place through secret meetings and secret organizations. Also brought to you by the Trilateral Commission. We also make the world a better place through secret organizations and secret meetings. Also brought to you by the Mafia. We make the world a better and safer place, or else. So here we go. It's time for round one of Bob Sarker's True or False. Adolf Hitler's favorite composer was Richard Wagner. True. Adolf Hitler's SS division was structured according to the structure of the Catholic Jesuits. True. And Heinrich Himmler was symbolized as Father Superior. Father Superior, get the gun. True or false? There is nothing in American law to prevent a convicted criminal or a madman from being elected President of the United States. True. And if you don't believe me, ask Nixon or the present president. He's really mad over his situation.
I forget who published this. It was published somewhere. Anyway, it's about graffiti. And it's about the joy of graffiti writing. It's called 1988 Spring Offensive. Raspberry, free dope and fucking in the streets, Bolo revolution cry, posters where poetic terror struck. Again, this time by the light of the April sun, my friend. This time by the light of the sun over an Atlanta afternoon spring offensive. Gearing up for cool neighborhoods. At last, and slack. Close to home, everybody. Smoking marijuana under peach blossoms. And measuring the spectacle with the tape measure of measured time. Great and bespeckled birds singing, notwithstanding contradictory terminology, the reality of a secret spectacle. Contradiction or not, confronting my friend everybody, where poetic terror strikes again.
This next one's called Intoxication of the Skin. It's kind of religious, but it's actually about losing your faith. What I was thinking about, now this is kind of a redundant subject, but people who stare at the sun go blind from looking at the sun. Well, I thought some people might cultivate their faith so much that when they finally do see that bright light, they're blinded and they lose everything their soul can't see anymore. So I related those two in this poem. And this verse is stolen from the Bible. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was God. And the earth chose to drown itself in hunger and open wide to taste the salt of the sea. Across the barren oak trees arose a tremendous silence, and the Word was God. Solitude was a blessing, a skin passed into flesh, and the river dogs barked at the banks of the Nile, and the Word was God. Snatches of pink light filter into the brightness of the unguarded cathedral of sorrows, where the blind man kneels, face pressed to perfection against the stained glass, sensing the strangeness of numb bodies surrounding him with hymns. Diamond heart full of misery, robbed of his sight at the age of just 16, from staring too long at the sun, waiting for it to explode. His eyes slowly faded blue, dried of their moistness and innocence, withered up, and then went blind. Now he sits in church, grasping at the image of God. Like his fateful encounter with the sun, he spent his years cultivating the divine light until complete illumination blinded him of his faith, shriveled up his soul in shame, and he lost the sight of his soul by trying to touch the light that burns. Now thoroughly blind inside and out, whitewashed to the glory of his striving years, he tries to assemble the shattered glass of hope amid the clash of the thunder. As he fades from the earth in careless wonder, from hearing the word that in the beginning was just a word, and the word was God.
My name is Copacetic Chris, and I'm going to read you a few poems tonight. And the first one's called Poets. It goes like this. They're always making it, but not to the top. Yeah, forever taking it, always up the ass. Sometimes seeing, their eye is always open. Other times being, like here and now with you. A prisoner to emotion, feelings flowing fluidly. Imprisoned by empathy, seeking sorrowful sustenance. Expressing a desire between dark and light, impressing a value, what is wrong, what is right. Never close to society, knowing it to be a sham. Sever open hostility, avoiding violence if they can. Forever plagued by pain, theirs, yours, it's all the same. Whenever looking for truth, all they find is hidden lies. So what if it sounds like shit to you? Go beyond what others say and others do. Know that life is nothing but a coup. Blow your mind before you're through. Thank you.
I read like half of Howl, and I don't see the big fucking deal. I read a howl and a shout and a scream every night. Shout, 'cause you're a white nigger hanging out at home after being harassed by black broads. If all we eat is Wendy's or McDonald's or Burger King, will our brains and our bodies have the capacity to think like the men and women who eat caviar or sirloin or lobster? I'm the white nigger alone, unafraid at the station where black men stand and a black boy sits next to me, asleep with his fast food straw in his hand and his fast food hat on his head. Ignoring boring adventures, gangs of kids hang out in the parking lot. You jump the bus, drop the token, blowing off the piss you were going to take at the Burger King. Scream! Put your boyfriends on hold while you plan your families, your careers, your holidays, your fantasies. Put your boyfriends on hold while you arrange the furniture, buy the cars, build the houses. Put your family on hold while you build your boyfriends. Pit boyfriend against friend. Pit your boyfriend against your father. Watch a full struggle while you check in with your mother. Put your girlfriends on hold while you get laid, drunk, busted, etc., etc. Scream, desperate fool, I'm the black man. I saw the video. Why you gotta call me Whitey? I tried in vain, but you inflicted your pain. Let me know I was different. Shouts, I am closing in. The bloody brown-skinned leg growls in my stomach. If you eat the chicken, would you not eat the cat who clawed at your leg while you ate the chicken? Then what of the man, woman, child who shares your home? Would you not eat them too? Where do skulls go? Will they not wind up as the wheel of a car or fuel for the future? Shout, they have passed lie detection tests, and you sit outside the window and watch them and wonder if you are not better or worse. Easily bored, I check out the customers and people passing in and out of the door. Have they been tagged and licensed? Scream! Have you ever walked among the machines in the mall or the street or the highway? Definite desire not to return to the open road, outstretched thumb. Have you ever felt that anger, the terror that comes when the man or woman hits the brake or accelerator? Have you ever felt the fear of sitting on a wall and waiting to get busted or scolded or laughed at? The neon liquor sign is dead. The bookstore and coffee shop signs brightly stare. And if you have or haven't, does it really matter? Scream! Have you ever walked up to a bar and stuck your nose on the window and knew that to enter would be sure death? Have you ever waited and wondered if naked women smelling of expensive booze will wander into the machines and strike you down like they already have with their rules and regulations? Shout! Have you ever wondered why male cops are hesitant to put female criminals in jail? Shout for the illegal alien crouched in the corner, waiting to flee to opportunity at less than minimum per hour. Unknown faces in a large crowd boomed into your bedroom, bottles of urine full living color. Scream! A man came to the door. Was it a legitimate business enterprise, or was he coming to tell us we were going to die? Scream! When I was a kid, I went door to door like the beggar. Should I tell you why? If I opened it fast, would he start talking or take a look around, see what was inside? Shout! It's fine with me. Take all the glory. They bring in as much as they want to. We seize as much as we can. I heard you can live forever. Let me tell you how. Shout! He was just a kid then. Imagine when he grew up. How would he react, waiting around to see what happened, would happen, would, if you would, give it a try. Scream and shout, because you don't give a damn. Scream and shout. I read like half of Howl, and I don't see the big fucking deal.
I first got involved in the Atlanta poetry scene one night when I went to Friolaro's taco stand on Peachtree, and I just went in there to get a burrito, but there was this incredibly intense intellectual, masterful musician band called the Chowder Shouters. It was made up of like college professors and engineers from Georgia Tech, and they were like screaming obscenities and playing gullah music, gospel, spiritual songs, and scream of consciousness poetry through the microphone, and it just sort of made something click in the 4 brain cells that I have left, and with their influences and a guy named Jim Pribble who influenced me a lot. It was mainly him who like came up to me one night at the White Dot and said, "You ought to be a poet."
Ladies and gentlemen, Deacon Lunchbox. Well, I'm just an old redneck hippie, living at the end of this dirt road. I ain't exactly totally crazy, but I am a few bricks short of a load. Now I used to be normal in my younger days, and don't know what got into me. It had something to do with Richard Nixon and the shit that we call LSD. So now I specialize in being lazy, reading tarot cards and eating grits. Not all my family understands me, especially since I grew this pair of tits. 'Cause I'm just an old redneck sex change. My life sure ain't easy at all. These hormones, they always make me bitchy. I feel just like an old monkey fucking up football. Thank you. My name's Deacon Lunchbox. I'm going to do something a little bit different.
Question is, how did I get started writing poetry? Well, I was on the Ferris wheel at Daytona Beach in 1967 with a girl named, I can't remember her name, but anyway, I was moved by the scene from atop the Ferris wheel on the boardwalk in Daytona Beach, and I penned a tome at that moment, which I have no idea where it went. And now I find myself in the backstage at the Clermont Lounge, and I have no idea what I'm doing here. What's the second question?
Aliens ate my hibachi while I was high on crank. Ever since it happened, I've been living in a think tank. They took control of my brain. They won't leave me alone. They always make me do stuff I wouldn't ordinarily do. They make me dress like a woman and worship Opal Fox. The guys call me names. When I wear my brassiere, it always makes me mad. So I scream in their ear. That's like go and tell your girlfriend he's got the shit beat out of you by a queer. Thank you. Calm down, huh?
Shit, you know, it's like I've read all these books and been to college, and I like Dirt. This rock band named Dirt is like one of my major influences, and Jennifer and John are two of the most poetic people. I just watch them move, and that inspires me to write like moving pieces of poetry. Otherwise, I don't, you know, like Captain Kangaroo, reruns of Gilligan's Island. Opal Fox has been one of my major influences. Other than that, my 8th grade English teacher, Miss McGillicuddy.
Hi, I want to do a little poem. You know, poetry's a big thing in America today. So a poem I wrote about living down here on Myrtle Street in Midtown Atlanta. It goes something like this. There's a psychotic socialite dancing the hula on a porch across the street. There's a frowning hooker walking her dog on the street down below. So I screamed out at her, "Smile!" She screams back up at me, "Why?" I scream back down at her, "Because life is an illusion and you might as well make it a good one." She screams back up at me, "Suck my dick!" I scream back down at her, "That's That's not the illusion I had in mind. Hang it.
You know, it's like most of my memory bank has been blotted out by drug abuse and alcohol, and I really, you know, I'm influenced by things that happen around me in my life, day to day, and that's about it. What's the next question?
I want to do a little song I wrote about our town, Atlanta, Georgia. It goes something like this. I got hypnotized by my windshield wipers driving down North Avenue. I picked up a dude named Chuck that asked me for $1. I said, shit, Chuck, I'm a poor man, too. I got drunk as a frog at Moe's and Joe's on Highland Avenue. I met a girl named Cheryl with a talking squirrel. I said, shit, Cheryl, I'm just as fucking crazy as you. And I burst into flames on Buford Highway, but you probably don't want to hear about it. I spent an adult night in a MARTA station. I think it was the green or blue line. It was a nice place to sit till I had to pee. Why didn't somebody tell me I was on TV? Now, all in all, it's been a rough life living in a town of 2 million. I hardly ever get laid. I hardly ever get paid. But it beats the shit out of living in a Bullwinkle trailer court in Hanahan, South Carolina.
What I think about the Atlanta poetry scene, I don't really know. I'm going for this like outlaw, outer limits, hardcore sort of insanity defense where I'm not really associated with any other poets in the area or anywhere. And that's sort of my idea, that it's like Wilt Chamberlain said, or no, it's Bill Russell. Bill Russell said, be different and people will notice you. And so like I figured that the more I stay away from the like poetry scene, the more people will notice me. Next question.
I want to do another poem I wrote. This little political thing, you know, sort of like a Pat Buchanan eulogy sort of thing, because he just died, I think. It goes something like this. I was drinking in a steakhouse out on Sharp Knife Road when a man named Skeezix unburdened his load. He said, look at that, an empty glass, slick as a soap maker's ass. Now I can see what's bothering me and I don't mind telling. He said, God is dead and he's in my trunk, but the cosmic flow is alive and well, while the cops and preachers pay the super rich to lie like hell. And the talk show pimps on the radio station pump out the paddle to the mangled masses as he touts the line of the tuna fish bosses. And the morally bankrupt computer mafia is the next big brother that you never had. And people drive too fast to go in nowhere, and they don't take the time to read the signs on the telephone poles of life. Because if they had, they wouldn't be so mad at the slow-driving preacher's wife. And they're always looking for the next new peon to grind under their shoe, because they're insecure and they don't feel flush unless they think that they're better than you. But there's as many different worlds as there are minds if you see right through windmills. And there ain't nobody no better than the rest, because there ain't no better and there ain't no best. And there ain't no high-rolling, hyper-motivated, horn-honking, type A, tailgating asshole that's got the right to use me or anybody else as a launching pad for their latest pissant power trip. And then Skeezix sat down. Thank you.
How did I get a book published and what do I think about it? I just happened to have a friend who was worked for a printer and another friend who was a graphic artist, and they said I ought to have a book, and I said, well, you know, Blondie is one of the best poets I've ever heard in my life, and she doesn't have a book.
It's my St. Patrick's Day poem. Hooray for the Irish, it's St. Patrick's Day. What a festive holiday this is. Shamrocks, leprechauns, and four-leaf clovers. And don't forget the green ale that puts us in its head. The Irish greet you with top of the morning to you. And another is Erin Gobra. It's all their good luck that keeps a smile on my face, or either the beer that's the charm. They love to party. It's at the top of their list. Their motto is, you can't keep a good man down. So hooray for the Irish on St. Paddy's Day. Although I'm not, kiss me anyway and bring another round. Happy St. Paddy's Day, everybody. Love ya.
But then, you know, it's like these people were trying to get me to do this thing, and so I did it. And like, that's, you know, and I've also come out with a recorded project, and I like it better, but I thought putting out a book, somebody that performs in nightclubs that has a book instead of a record would be different. And I've always wanted, like, to be a writer or something, and it was very gratifying to see my ruminations in print, and for it to be on sale in the same store where Louis Grizzard hawks his books, and you know, I really feel honored, you know, like that I can share that experience with him. And
Louis Grizzard, I'm calling you out. I read your column and it made me puke. You're just worried it would be all right, but you found old flames that belie your sloth. Hiding in the closet tight as a drum, baiting reactionaries in the noonday sun. With your head up your ass, I'm calling you out. Snake in the grass, I'm calling you out. You don't fool me with your folksy demeanor. You're more dangerous than the old Grand Wizard. You're a knee-jerk, myopic, supercilious, half-baked, neo-closet, white supremacist, mixed-drink, swilling, country club, ragged-eyed, woman-bashing, petty, bourgeois, beach music listening, pork barrel, good old boy, homophobic cheese dick. That's all I got to say on that subject.
it's also, when you go on the road, you have to have product. That's Stevie T of the Tombstone said that in an interview once, and I've always remembered it. Going on the road without product is useless. And when you have something to sell and you go on the road, it's a lot more fun, because then you feel like you're doing something. Other than that, you know, I could care less.
I love that woman like a purple hurricane. I was already mentally impaired, but she drove me insane. I met her in a little beer joint named Scatterbrains up on the South Kakalaki state line. She came on to me like a ton of brick. I thought she wanted my heart, but she only wanted my sex. I remember the dirt roads where we courted, and I remember the clay banks where we laid. What I'm bitching about tonight is the amount of brain cells with which I paid. Now, I admit it, I was an alcoholic when I met her, but as God is my witness, I'm going to have to become a drug addict to forget her.
Question is, what makes poetry good? Plenty of obscenities. That's the only thing I like about it. And if it isn't dirty, I don't want to have anything to do with it. I don't believe in imagery or symbolism or parody or any of those things. I don't even know what they mean, but a good profanity used well, to me, is entertainment.
All right, we're running a little late, so I'm going to do one more, and then the incredible band Dirt's going to come up fresh from their national tour. I'd like to remind you all I got books for sale at Oxford Books and tapes at Wax and Facts. And right now I'd like to do a little thing. Now y'all can tell by listening to me that I'm a student of human nature. Well, you know, I've traveled the world looking for the secret of the universe. I've been to the Himalayas and talked to the Sherpas and all the gurus. And one time I was in Morocco, and this Italian hash dealer dressed up as an Indian guru told me the secret of the universe. He said, there's two basic things behind the human behavior on the planet Earth today. You know what those two things are? Pussy and dick! Pussy and dick! all boils down to pussy and dick. It don't matter if you're gay or straight or bi. It's what's between your legs that makes it all fly. It ain't the money, it ain't the cars, it ain't the clothes if you dress for success. It's a Freudian thing that got us in this mess. Pussy and dick, pussy and dick, all boils down to pussy and dick. Hey, you take all the men in the audience tonight. If y'all didn't have a dick, you wouldn't have any place to put your brain. Now you take all the women in the audience tonight. Most of y'all think you're born brain surgeons. Now I ain't no psychosociologist, and I ain't no cultural anthropologist. But it seems to me when you boil it all down to the two basic reasons behind most of your human behavior on the planet Earth today, you come up with two things. Pussy and dick! Pussy and dick! The secret of the universe is pussy and dick! Thank you very much. Turn will be right out.
Write. Put ink on paper. Do it all the time. You don't become a good poet, or you don't advance at the craft, and it's a craft more than an art. You don't get better as a poet unless you write. Keep a journal. I mean, if you can't keep your ideas in your head, keep a journal. Jot ideas for poems down, but above all, write. And read what other poets have done. See what works, but write. Always write.
Well, it's good poetry if people listen and pay attention to it. And if you bore their asses off, then it's bad poetry, no matter how good it is. Now, of course, a lot of audiences you can't get them to pay attention, but you got to do your best, without resorting to theatrics. It's got to do it the best you can and just speak it from the heart, and then they'll pay attention. Because there is a whole lot of boring poetry in this world. Your kind of old ladies, little tea and crumpet kind of poetry society kind of poetry. I try to steer clear from that kind of shit. I'm on to a rock and roll, late evening kind of poetry, you understand? Poetry that you can drink Old Milwaukee to. That is my kind of poetry.
What I'm saying is you don't have to have a PhD. You don't have to rhyme. You don't even have to know what meter is to do poetry. Glenn Thatcher wrote this in Art Papers years ago. He said, Mikel is such a jerk, but he really does have something to say. He is a true street poet, as he says, not for PhD and literature types, though I think many would find Mikel's free verse somehow refreshing.
I like the stuff I'm doing now much better, obviously, but it's also angry, but there is an element of true sadness for the human condition.
What happened here? Flat voice, no meat, no feeling, flicks out like sheet metal snake's tongue, licking up, back to the case, reflects patent leather brim of Atlanta's finest SS cap. Radios crackle blue static, light slice night like rapid fire revolving blades. Clinical necrophiliac takes aim for his dark room pleasures. No one cares which nigger crossed which nigger out on your historic, renovated Auburn Avenue here on your joke. Yeah, Martin had a dream. Your razor cut that dream in bloody lumps like 3-month coat hanger abortions. Cut the lids off my boy's pretty eyes. He stares up now, forever. Can't tell me what's really up there. If my voice struggled up through that mess of guts, whispered, Mama, I need you, I'd follow him. Sprawl like him, my brain splattered, half in the gutter, half on sidewalk already, smearing soles of your jackboots. You must figure niggas' brains like dog shit. Inconvenient but removable waste product. All I know is I won't fix his breakfast now. Won't sound on him for wearing out shoe leather faster than I got the bread to pay for more. Won't slip in his room to watch him sleep, 'cause somewhere in my heart he's always gonna stay my baby. What happened here? You know better than I. You built public rat traps, and don't think we didn't notice how easy it was for you to surround them like enemy encampments. Caged us with no way to learn, sapped our will with scrape survival welfare. Too bad you're too tight-fisted. You could have bought us once again, maybe. And yes, your rotten surplus cheese, your toilet paper checks bought you more privilege. Bitching 'cause you worked so hard to pay for us to prop our feet up, hypnotized by huge color TVs. Stretch out one arm for the needle, while the other reaches for the caddy key so we can wheel down to the liquor store to call our brands. Hey man, rats for roommates ain't so bad till they chew you when food's run out. And food is always running out before we buy it in that one room. Walls, pipes, fashioned from Swiss cheese. If we don't freeze on urban tundra, we bake in summer's brick ovens. Either way, wading like Viet Cong through paddy water, on bare floors in sewage, shot down by true blue Americans. You gods created 4 horsemen for us. Starvation, lack of education to improve us, wealth of education to degrade us. 4th, sheer weariness of keeping on. You let us learn 2 things, to fight, to fuck. The more of us you bred, the more we killed each other off. Somehow, lethal contraband, drugs, guns, found their way to us in plenty. You ensured we balanced, did not rock your statistics. Stable population, those who never have and never will. Then you elaborate. Set packs of red dogs on us like a downtown redneck coon hunt. Force us to break your laws to make a living, so we bankroll your lawyers or earn 30 cents an hour in your jails. Humiliation's weight, added to destitution, tips the scale to revolution. Your apocalypse rides hard toward you now, but not yet seen. Implacable steel warrior, filling horizon's edges. Our apocalypse is always now, living each moment immolated. Our flames rival sun itself. Motor oil clouds billow. Stench of ever-burning flesh pervades your fair country. Freedom is to have nothing, want nothing. Still we hunger for rights of humanity. Else we would sink onto your pyre so gladly. Thank you.
They got dope-sniffing dogs in Dollywood. My vacation plans are ruined. The anti-drug hysteria's overdone. The more I hear about crack, the more I want to try some. I see the brainwaves on TV, fry an egg in a skillet. I sleep with drug czar nightmares and delirium tremors. Nancy's whine and a nervous tick. I want to smoke my pot, drink my beer, snort my coke through a chain link fence post. Oh, we're not the jet set, we're the old Chevrolet set. I want to boot some skag, huff some crack, dose myself up on some LSD, have multiple sex behind some ecstasy. They got dope-sniffing dogs in Dollywood. My vacation plans are ruined. Thank you, thank you.
You know, there's always been a big correlation between poetry and alcoholism and also insanity. And a lot of the very best poets were alcoholics and also insane men and women. Because I think it's that divine madness, that spark of craziness that lets you speak right from the heart, that lets you not filter it out into conventional ways, and just the gods and the demons, whoever speaks to you, and you spout it right back out. That's poetry to me.
True or false? Madonna's favorite men to pick up in her limousine in New York City while she drives around are black men in Harlem. False. She likes Latino men in the West Side. I don't know why, but that's her. Oh, here's one you're gonna love. True or false? J. Edgar Hoover's favorite men to pick up were the kind that packed the mean pistol in their pants.